You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Hello, this is Pastor Jonathan Smith with Just the Bible Will Do podcast. This is another segment with Jump In with Jonathan. Today, I have the host of the podcast called Through the Fire, Ryan Wickline. And welcome to the show today, Ryan.
Hey, Jonathan. Great to be here.
Yes, sir. So tell us a little bit about your show and what got you into doing this show, and we'll go with it from there.
You wouldn't believe me if I told you how I got started podcasting. I mean, it's kind of a funny story. But basically my show's about inspiring and motivating people, because I always hear people tell me, and they give me excuses of why they can't do something. Mm-hmm. So I like to bring on people who have overcome struggles in their life and are doing great things, because I'm like, man, I'm tired of hearing why you can't do something. And I want you to see that you're created for so much more. God created you to be extraordinary. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is go chase that dream down. He put that dream in your heart for a reason. Go chase it down.
Okay, cool.
So that's kind of like why I do what I do. But how I got started podcasting, that's kind of a funny story. So I'm also trying to become a motivational speaker. Mm-hmm. And I do mindset training with athletes, a lot of high school athletes, a couple college athletes. So, and I wanted to expand on that to work more with adults. So as I'm learning to try to grow myself too, I was doing a lot of webinars. Mm-hmm. And one of the ones I listened to was Dr. Eric Thomas, E.T., the hip hop preacher. So I did like one of his 21-day challenges. And one of the days we did was talking about maximizing your opportunities and everything, how you maximize your opportunities. And it was called the 9th mile mentality is what they were calling it. Mm-hmm. So what you do is, we all have excuses of why we can't do something. And if I had this, I'd be much further along. Or if I had what they had, So instead of looking at things like that, it was like, hey, what resources do we have? Mm-hmm. Look at everything you have, every resource you have. And once you start maximizing all your resources and putting it together, more will be given to you. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that kind of had me thinking like, man, I have some of these resources, like I joined a group of people. It was called the SBN Small Business Network. Mm-hmm. And they offered me an opportunity to do a podcast. So I'm like, well, I do have that opportunity. Why not take advantage of it? Well, they were kind of slow rolling me on everything. And I'm like, I wasn't in a rush to get started. I'm like, it's on God's timing, not my timing. So whenever they're ready. But I made that commitment. Hey, I have this opportunity. I have my Facebook and everything and all my other social media platforms. I need to start branding myself more. I barely ever post. I need to start branding more. And why not take advantage of this podcast? So I decided to go all in, maximize every resource I had. Well, once the week I was going to start that podcast, a guy reached out to me, Coach Rory, as you know, he reached out to me because he's like, man, I've been seeing a lot of your posts lately. He goes, that's crazy. I don't see a lot of people's posts, but I've been seeing all yours lately. He goes, I'm taking that as a sign that I'm supposed to help you. And little did anybody know, I actually did one of the first podcasts I did as a guest was on his. podcast, The Power of Man. So I went on there and talked about like my life story and everything. So long story short, he reached out to me and we had a conversation. He asking me like, hey, what are your goals? I said, well, all my main goal is to become a paid speaker. I want to travel around the world and speak on stages, but get paid to do it. I feel like God's put this in my heart that this is what I'm supposed to do. I can't tell you how I'm supposed to do it, but he put this in my heart, and there's a story behind that too that I'll get to here. But Will, did you know? He said, okay. He goes, whatever you thought about doing a podcast? I'm like, buddy, little did you know I'm supposed to do my first episode today. He's like, really? I go, yeah. He goes, so the timing could be even more perfect on you getting a hold of me. He's like, well, would you like to work with me as a coach and everything? I'm like, yeah, why not? Let's see where this goes, you know? Right. So I signed up to work with him as a coach, and that he's like, just record that episode and we'll talk next week about getting everything in line. So I record that episode on a Sunday. One of my friends reached out to me that day too, after I recorded that first episode, and I recorded him on that Monday. So I did 2 episodes back to back. Cool. Like nothing. Like, and I mean, I was so nervous getting on there, didn't know what to do. But that's how I got into podcasting. It wasn't nothing like, oh, this was my plan or anything. It was just, hey, this is a resource given to me. Let's try to maximize it to the best of my abilities.
Cool. I like working with Rory. Rory's a really good guy to work with. And I would suggest that anybody that's looking for a good person for podcast coaching to reach out to me or Ryan. And at the end of the show, I'll have all of Ryan's links in the description when this comes out. And so that you can find Ryan and Through the Fire podcast. What brought you to wanting to inspire and motivate people? Like where'd that come from?
Man, a lot of that comes from me in my past life. Like, I was a drug addict. So I was probably addicted to drugs and an active addiction on and off for probably 16, 17 years. So coming to God moment of getting clean and everything, like God really put it on my heart that I was supposed to help people. And before that, like my whole goal, before I ever wanted to be a motivational speaker or anything, like God was bringing me through a lot of challenges. It was more or less, I was going to be a wrestling coach. That was it. I was going to coach athletes and try to get the best of the ability out of the kids that I worked with and try to win with kids. That was it. That was my whole goal. And I went back to college because of that and went through some tough times there, you know, but actually made it through, got my degree and everything. And that was the whole plan of everything was I was going to go be a wrestling coach. And that was it. Well, along the way, I had picked up becoming a mindset coach, working with athletes. I mean, and had a lot of fun doing it. And like, man, I could make a living doing this. And at one point, I felt like I was done coaching, like coaching the full round, like the grind of coaching. Because as most people know that have kids in athletics, it's a year-round thing now.
Oh, yeah.
Like sports have become so specialized. There's an off season. There's no off season. So I was coaching pretty much year round with a couple weeks of break all year round. I mean, and for the money you're making and everything, I mean, eventually, I mean, you burn out of it, you know?
Yes.
Like it's a burn, like you burn out so quickly and everything. And like along that journey, God was leading me and put in my heart that I was supposed to start, like become a motivational speaker. Like I went to, a retreat with kids. So I went to the retreat with high school kids with my church last summer. And we were in a stadium of like 15,000 people that first night there. And these people came out on stage and was talking, and God like put in my heart, he goes, Ryan, this is where I want to put you. I want you to be here. I'm going to move you to this position. I'm like, there's a lot of nerves that came into my heart. Like, really? How's this gonna work? Because I kind of have a fear. I had a fear of public speaking a little bit.
Right.
Still do at times. I mean, 'cause it's hard, but like I kind of realized, hey, it's this is what you want me to do, then I'm gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just answered God's call and like, here, you lead me through whatever you want me to do. There's gonna be a lot of failure, I understand, but use me as you want. So just kind of that way of inspiring people. I mean, it's kind of always been there, trying to get the best out of people. I mean, like I told people, even when I went back to coaching wrestling, when there was a break while I was getting sober and clean, like there was a year-long break, like I was ready to walk away back then, and God put in my heart, like, hey, you got to go help save some of these kids' souls.
Oh, yeah.
You got to go help save their souls. And it's not like about winning anymore as much as, hey, give them the tools that they're going to need to be successful for later on in life.
Absolutely. And that's important. I think you told me you're Catholic by faith. I'm Baptist by faith. I don't believe only Baptists are going to heaven. I don't believe even half of them's going to heaven. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But when we talk about that, we talk about them going to heaven. We talk about Catholics. Catholics is one of the most devout people that I've ever dealt with and worked around. And one of the things when I think about Catholics, I remember a Catholic lady told me one time, she said, give me your child, and in 7 years, it'll be a Catholic for life. And that's powerful. And I think in our pre-interview, we talked about your addiction, and you said that you went to several different types of recovery classes, and they were just griping and complaining.
Yeah.
Parts.
Yeah. Like that was like one of the biggest hurdles I had to come with my own mindset, because I grew up, and I tell people this all the time, like I was raised kind of a perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated to lose. So along with that comes fear of failure.
Oh yeah.
Of, hey, if I can't do it right and you fail, I mean, you're not going to pick yourself back up sometimes. I mean, you let that loss kind of stick with you a little bit longer than what it should be. But to be successful, you have to go through failure. It's failure after failure after failure, and kind of tying everything together and kind of being self-aware enough of introspecting all your losses. I mean, I'll tell everybody, that was the hardest thing I had to do when I was getting clean was, hey, I failed here, I failed here, I failed here. What did I do that caused that failure? That was the hardest thing I had to do. I had to get to know myself and get to know all my weaknesses and be like, hey, I have to fix this one by one by one. I mean, but once I did that, I mean, I became a lot stronger, and, by God leading me through everything, it was, hey, face yourself, get to know who you are as a person. That's what most people don't do. They don't get to know exactly who they are, what your strengths are, what are your weaknesses, and try to fix them. I mean, but yeah, going around them, a lot of those classes and everything, I mean, you got around a lot of people who complained. I mean, and like, I understand, like, sometimes I was like, yeah, my problems are way worse than yours, because mine were more life and death. But to them, their problems were hard.
Right.
Their battles were just different than mine, but their problems were just as much. But I couldn't be around them environments of people complaining all the time, because I was trying to upgrade my mind, and I can't be around people who are just going to complain about life. I mean, life's what you make of it, and it's all about your perspective on things.
What was the best piece of advice you got through when you was going through your recovery process and changing your mindset?
Probably the best advice I got was give it to God.
Okay.
That was probably my best advice, but I didn't know what it meant at the time. I had this one guy who took me under his wing for about 6 months, and he's telling me, give it to God. Give it to God. Just give it to God. I'm having relationship problems. Well, he's like, give it to God. If you're meant to be, like, it's meant to be. I'm like, I don't want that answer, though. I don't want that, I don't want that. But that is automatically what you need to do. You need to put everything in God's hands and let him deal with it, because hey, life is freaking hard at times.
Mm-hmm.
When the moment I realized that I was not in control of my life and that God was in control of my life, things got easier. It didn't mean my life was going to be easy at times, because there's going to be a lot of hardships and a lot of suffering, but it meant that somebody was with me, and knowing that he had my back and was
Mm-hmm.
going to lead me through all my problems. Even if I didn't like the situation, if I would just go to him, things would be a lot easier.
I understand that.
So that's why I like that term, give it to God.
So we hear that a lot. I tell people that. Like, I tell them that all the time. I'm like, just give it to God. So what if I told you that advice today? Said just give it to God. What would your mindset be? How would you process that? Because if for a person who isn't in church, or a person that isn't listening to mine in your podcast every week, and they hear me and you talk about, well, just give your problems to God. What's the right word? Yeah. How do you process that? And what would you say that definition of that is to you?
I process that now as, hey, I'm going to pray about it. And whatever happens, happens.
Okay.
No matter what I want, the outcome I want, I know it's best for me.
Mm-hmm.
God's in control of my life. Like I said, God's in control of my life. I give him control of it, because when I had control of it, look where I went. I went off
Right.
the rails, and I was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I mean, so obviously you don't want me running my life.
No.
And a lot of that is, like, my definition of it is trust.
Mm-hmm.
Trust. And that's one area of my life that I had problems with there for a while, was trusting God.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when I would go meet with my priest there and we go talk, and I mean, at first I started out once a week talking to my priest just to grow spiritually and to have him help me with my problems, because I was a mess. Living in the state of sin, trying to get everything out of me, get rid of all my vices and everything.
Right.
And he gave me this prayer, like, and I would just have to repeat, Jesus, I trust in you. Jesus, I trust in you. Jesus, I trust in you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but that's what I had to keep repeating to myself to remember. Hey, I'm not in control. Hey, Jesus, I trust you. No matter if I can't see it or believe what you're telling me to do, this is where you're leading me. And I have to trust that this is what you have in store for me. And if it's not, you're going to let me suffer a little bit, but this is for my own good, and you're leading me to someplace better.
I understand. I can see that. I think one of the problems that we have in the mindset that we have today is all of us are taught to be these fake people, that everything in our life is perfect. So when you look at my life is perfect. When I look at your life is supposed to be perfect. And there's nothing me and you can do that would screw it up, lack of better words. But when we get home, we're the unhappiest people that we can be, because we have so much going on in life that we've kept bottled up. And I think that's the reason that we have drug addiction, alcohol addiction, porn addiction, whatever addiction someone may have, is because they do not want to be real. They want to be this fake person that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Like, your life is never going to be perfect. I mean, I see it all the time with people. They're scared of suffering. I mean, we've been told suffering is a bad thing, but when you look at it, we were saved because of suffering.
Exactly.
So, what makes you think that just because Jesus went through suffering, that we're not going to suffer? God's going to make us suffer for that redemptive part, just like Jesus went through. If he let his own son suffer and die for us, what do you think he's going to make us do to redeem us? Like, he's going to purify us through suffering. I mean, you saw it all through the Old Testament of people suffering, even the New Testament with the disciples and the apostles. Like, they had to suffer. Like, all, 10 of the 12 disciples suffered and died?
Yes.
Like a horrible death, besides
Yes.
John. But look at the stuff John had to go through.
Exactly. Threw him out of Patmos in
Yeah. I
in
mean,
oil.
there was a lot of suffering in all of that. I mean, all of them went through suffering. I mean, so what makes you think that as believers that we're not going to suffer? I mean, even non-believers, they're going to suffer. There's going to be suffering involved in everything. I mean, and when you realize that, hey, suffering can be good at times, and sometimes we have to choose what suffering we like. You know, we'll take a path, and that suffering we take, like whether it's going to a job, I mean, use that as your suffering for the day.
Right.
You know, like little things that you go through, that suffering was meant for you for a reason.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that I know I was taught in my part of the religion was that if you suffer, it's because you have sin in your life. And that is totally false.
Yeah.
That is the biggest line of crap that I've ever heard, because we suffer. When I think about suffering, I think of it this way. If before you can give me a bar of gold that is completely pure, you had to take that bar and put it in the hottest fire possible to melt away all the impurities and all the imperfections of that gold in order for it to become perfect and priceless. And our life is the same way. In order for God to mature us, we have to, what's the right word? Be put in the fire and let all of our imperfections be made known.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and that's why I have the name Through the Fire, was because, hey, I was led through the fire. And I tell everybody, the only way to get what you want is you have to go through that. Quit trying to avoid that. Quit trying to avoid the pain and suffering and just go through it, because that's the only way to get to that other side.
Yes. No,
Stop
I
trying
agree.
to avoid it and go through it.
I agree 100%. So let's talk about the podcast a little bit. So on your podcast, is it more just you giving mindset and coaching advice, or is it you have a lot more interview style and bring on different people? How's your podcast and what's it like?
So, as you know, we got to do two a week. That's the rule, right? We got to do two a week. So right now I do interview, and I release that on a Tuesday, and then I do more of a short, which is me, on a Thursday.
Okay.
More of a short version.
Okay. So yours comes out on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And Thursdays. Yep.
Okay. And do you on your interviews, do you just try to interview, like, are you just trying to interview people that's got the same style as you, or mindset, or not mindset, but same background, or do you bring in different people for different topics of the week?
So I bring in people from all range of different backgrounds. So, like, my first interview was done with my friend who owns a gym.
Yeah.
He's he's like a personal trainer and gym owner. You know, so he has a crazy story. You know, he worked construction. You know, me and him graduated together. He worked construction for how many years? Well, he felt one day he was called to leave that behind and go become a personal trainer. And he did that for a while. He built up his own clientele and everything. Then he started his own gym. It's like, you know, and I just like to bring on people who are going to inspire people, to show people, hey, you can do whatever you want to do in life. Quit making excuses. It doesn't matter your background, your education, what you came from. Quit looking at things as problems and go, hey, if you want it, go get it.
Right.
You know, and that's pretty much what I want to do. Like, even one guy was a Christian. This guy, crazy interview, you know, good story. So I was listening to a podcast and I heard him on there. So he had a disease. I forget what it was called. But he turned away from God while he got it. He almost died. So he started a podcast to kind of try to disprove God.
Okay.
So once he started doing that, he started being brought back to God through that, you know. But the funny story is, now he's got this podcast up and running, promoting like his faith and everything. He's wrote devotionals, and he owns his own like apparel company.
Wow.
And he's in a wheelchair. So he's not letting any of his problems hinder him,
Right.
and that's what it's all about, is showing anybody, hey, look, we're all normal people and average people who have gone through something, but it's what we did with what we were given.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. What is your favorite part of your podcast?
Just meeting people. I,
Okay.
I think that's probably the funnest part, is just meeting people and like listening to their stories and everything. Cause I love that. I mean, I'm a people person who loves hearing like great stories about how they overcame stuff. Like I love that. Like if you can inspire somebody and motivate somebody from your story, I mean, cause that's your superpower.
Right.
Your story is your superpower of what you've overcome. If you can inspire somebody, just one person, to be a better person, you've done your job.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's what it's about for me. It's all that. I love doing that. And I love talking like mindset stuff with people.
What's your least favorite part of your job?
Probably all the prep work.
Oh yeah.
Like, I never realized how much like the interview process is. Like, the prep work that went into that was so much more than what I ever thought it was going to be. So my first one, like I said, I didn't have any time to prep work, anything. I was just given a set of questions. He'd never been on a podcast before. So it was like, hey, I had like 6, 7 questions. So the interview only lasted, 18, 19 minutes, somewhere around
Yep.
there. And I was also, only my second podcast ever. So there was a lot of nerves. So I was kind of rushing everything. And then I kind of got that down a little bit, had to go back and listen to myself and everything a little bit. But so now, like, a lot of my prep work is listen to somebody on different podcasts for like maybe 2 or 3 episodes. So I can kind of steer the questions where maybe I want to go, or maybe know their background a little bit more. So I know where they want to go, so I can kind of steer them that way too.
I understand.
So, I mean, that was probably that's probably my least favorite thing. It's not bad. I don't mind doing it. It's just the hardest thing. It's more than what I ever thought it was.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I like a shorter podcast because I have a shorter attention span.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you get ready to interview that person and you have to listen to an hour or an hour and a half podcast just to sort of get the gist of what they've got, you're like, oh my God, is this thing going to ever end?
Yeah.
And you realize, oh crap, I've got 3 or 4 more of these to do right behind this.
Yeah.
And
so that's the thing. So I try to space out my podcast too, my recordings and stuff of when I record people. I tried to go on their schedule a lot when I first started. So I'm like almost episode 20. And so when I was first starting and lining up these guests, so I was going more by their schedule. And so I was doing all different times and everything. And I was exhausted. And now I'm getting a little bit more established a little bit, so I'm like, hey, I record on these days. Yeah. A couple of these days are off limits for me because I have coaching calls with kids and clients. So it's like all my energy needs to be focused on them at those times, so me rushing through anything to give you guys energy is not going to happen on those days. So I'm going to record on these days during these times, or during the weekends during these times if I'm not busy. And that will help, so I have more energy and more focus for the podcast. So if we can work through that times, let's do it. If not, then but most people are like, okay, I can work through those times, and if something came up was like, hey, I can't do those times, I only have this time, I would try to make something work, but I'm trying not to get out of that habit a little bit, just because, hey, I only have a finite amount of energy and there's only so much time in the day, as we all understand that, hey, you need to take care of yourself too.
Mm-hmm. What's one piece of advice you would tell a podcaster to definitely do?
Just get started.
Okay.
Just start. Don't get in your mind and be like, how am I going to do this? Like, how's this going to happen? Just do it. You'll learn as you go. Okay. You don't need all that fancy equipment. I use a phone. My computer's not fast enough for everything, so I use my phone. Okay. I don't have any fancy equipment, nothing. I just go off StreamYard, and and now I know how to download everything. And like I said, once you get started and start moving in place, reach out to other people who know a little bit something about it. They'll help you a little bit. They'll give you some advice, but ultimately
Right.
the decision is yours. But make that decision and go all in.
Okay. What's
You
one
know,
don't you would tell someone that was getting ready to start a podcast?
don't overthink it.
Okay.
Same advice. Don't overthink it.
Okay.
I mean, that's from my perspective, that is what human beings do way too much. We worry about the how
Mm-hmm.
too much instead of worrying about, hey, you're going to go through a lot of failure at first. You're not going to, don't compare your numbers to these other people's numbers, because I think that's what a lot of people do. They compare. Well, why am I not getting this? Well, it's just not your time yet. Be consistent and motivated and keep adapting, and you'll get there.
Right. No, I agree with you 100% on that. I think one of my least favorite parts, and I don't want to bring this back to me, but I don't like going back and listening to myself. I hate hearing myself talk.
Yeah, that voice, I cringed the first couple times I did. I'm like, that's my voice.
Yes.
And it's like, because I started out so loud, and it's like, and I had to, but it taught me something, where, hey, I need just to tone it down, be more natural, soft talk a little bit here and there. I don't have to be, hey, so loud all the time, so it's just like,
Yes.
calm down at times, speak a little bit more clear, just slow down a little bit.
Right. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show today. I appreciate you taking the time. I know we had a short amount of time, but I appreciate you coming on the show today. And at the end of the show, I'll get you to send me some links and I'll put them in with this podcast so that other people can find you as well. So I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for listening to Just the Bible Will Do podcast. Again, this is Pastor Jonathan Smith, wishing you a great day and keep looking up. Jesus is coming soon.